in episode 3 of Ras In 60. Mary, you want to go ahead and open up the show?
Sure. We are back again with another great episode, and we'll have some amazing guests on our show today. If you don't know, October is National Economic Education Month and Financial Planning Month. It is fitting for our first guest to be our Deputy Mayor and Director of Economic and Housing Development, Allison Ladd. Our second guest is Alfred Edmond Jr. He's the Senior Vice President and Executive Editor at Large of Black Enterprise Magazine. Both of our guests will discuss economic education, financial planning, and a lot more. Yep.
All right, let's go into the community updates. Let's start with COVID, of course. COVID-19.
Yeah.
So you want to go ahead into that one?
Yeah. We're still doing free COVID testing throughout the city, free vaccines. You can check our social media accounts, our website for the most up-to-date COVID testing and vaccination sites. You can also go to our website and look at our data dashboard for all COVID-related information. And if you go to newarkcovid19.com, you can get information on rent support and help. And if you were a business that lost revenue during COVID, an opportunity to gain revenue as well. So,
Right.
Yep. Our test positivity rate has slowly increased during the summer and into the fall. We are starting to see a little bit of decrease. We want to continue to stay that way. If you turn into our first Facebook Live updates that we do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you should be able to get the most current updates. That's 5 o'clock every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Facebook Live. The vaccinations in the city, we were at 61% of Newark is 12 and up, fully vaccinated. 74% have received at least one shot in Newark. So
That's good to hear.
yeah,
The numbers are increasing.
yeah.
Right.
Now, I mean, slowly but surely, people are getting vaccinated. I think the group of people that are the least vaccinated are young people between 12 and 29.
Right.
Are the population that's not vaccinated like we need them to be.
Right. All right. Since the last episode, we have a few things happening here in Newark. We did have the Kenneth Gibson statue unveiling. You want to discuss about that?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, September the 14th, we unveiled the statue of Newark's former mayor, Kenneth Gibson, first African-American mayor of a large major city on the eastern seaboard here. The statue is in front of City Hall now, right on Kenneth Allen Gibson Boulevard. And I think it's important to share the legacy, of Ken Gibson, because not just he's the first African-American mayor, it signaled a transition
Right.
in power here in the city of Newark and throughout this, this region. Folks began to elect black mayors up and down the eastern seaboard, and Ken Gibson transitioned during the time right after the Newark Rebellion. All of that is a change in Newark's history. So it's a good thing to make sure we at least highlight.
Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful statue as well. People should definitely take a look at it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Come visit. Yep.
Yeah.
Take a photo. See it in person.
It's very nice. It definitely is. Yeah.
A lot of nice detail. So, and we did have that Great Day in Newark photo shoot that happened on Saturday, September 18th. That was a really cool event here in Newark.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of cool events over the summer, man.
Yeah.
This was great. Got an opportunity to take pictures of many of the folks in Newark dressed to the T. We're going to use those photos actually as a advertisement for the city to advertise things that are happening in Newark and get people like that to come and choose to be in Newark.
Right. A lot of creativity with the outfits that day. It was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tea with Tina Knowles happened recently at Symphony Hall. I never thought I'd see the day Beyonce mom come to Newark. That was nice to see.
Yeah, it was great.
I love Beyonce, so
yeah,
that was nice to see.
Yeah, Mickey Taylor, Beyonce's mother, Tina Knowles. It was great. It was the, what do you call that? Terrace Ballroom looked amazing.
The Symphony Hall.
Symphony Hall. Yeah, it looked amazing. Yeah. So it was great. Richard Lawson, her husband, I believe, is also a huge actor in his own right, who was there as well. And they're going to be producing Richard Wesley's play, Black Terror. And Richard Wesley is a Newark resident. Well, Newark born. He's not Newark resident now, but he was.
Wow.
And there's some movies that people should check out. Richard Wesley, Uptown Saturday Night,
Right.
where Biggie first got his first name. Biggie Smalls, Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, A Piece of the Action. All classic movies. Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby.
Right.
Check those out. Yep.
Awesome. Halsey Street Festival happened last week in Newark. That was a great back together again.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't seen that many people at the Halsey Street Festival in a long time. It was
Right.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They have to patronize the local businesses downtown.
that's right. And
And
check out all those black businesses on Halsey Street. People don't know about those businesses. There's a lot of them. You should check them out.
yeah, so I like Boss Bling Coffee. That's a new coffee shop right there. That's really nice.
Yeah. The Brown Mill clothing store.
Yep.
Yeah, very nice.
All right, so I think we should also talk about the Hurricane Ida. People, if they want to get some info on how to get disaster relief
Yeah.
funding or assistance.
Yeah, and I want to thank Senator Booker, who worked the hardest in trying to make sure that we were designated Essex County as a disaster site so we can get the relief that we needed. He worked along with the urging of the governor, and thank God it was successful. FEMA has its own app. You can go and download the app
Okay.
online. I mean, on your phone, and you can apply for relief right there on an app, or you can call them directly at 1-800-621-3362. That's 1-800-621-3362, or the TTY number is 1-800-462-7585.
Okay.
Yep, and apply.
Yep.
Any issue you have, I would apply for the money. See what happens.
Right. And another really good emergency assistance program here in Newark. We have the rental assistance and small business grants assistance.
Yeah, and I just spoke about that, and you go to
Yep.
NewarkCovid19.com. There are some deadlines up here on the 8th and the November the 5th, but I would just keep going, just fill it out. If we don't get the number that we're looking for, we're going to have to keep extending it. So at the end of the day, we need people to really apply.
Right. And we're still in Hispanic Heritage Month. Let's just let people know about some of the events still happening until the end of Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah, there's a few things going on still. We had a great celebration by the Prudential Center. It was great as well. But tomorrow, Wednesday, October the 6th, there'll be a book giveaway at Vince Lombardi Center of Hope, Wednesday, October the 6th, on Bloomfield Avenue.
Yep.
And then there'll be an exhibition at Newark Public Library the same Wednesday, the following Wednesday, October the 13th. There's a Hispanic Heritage Month exhibition at Newark Public Library, October 13th.
And earlier during the month of September, you signed a sister city agreement. There's a lot of sister city agreements that the city currently has.
Yeah.
So I know that you signed one with Puerto Rico recently of the town of San Sebastian. Puerto Rico.
Right. Mayor Jimenez, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little about that agreement and why that's important and what it would mean for the city?
Well, mostly it's about tourism and trade and sharing ideas and opportunities. When we do a sister city agreement, we try to highlight each other's cities. In our city, we'll try to highlight San Sebastian, encourage people to visit there. They do the same. We exchange ideas, opportunities that we have on trade, on business, things that we may need, things that they may need. So it's a good relationship to have with cities when the sister city agreement is actually active, when the mayors are active in it. It's really a great benefit.
Yeah, it sounds like it could really be beneficial for both towns. All right, so let's move on to water.
Yeah, we 21,974 lead service lines in. So, you could go to NewarkLeadServiceLine.com and look at the update on all of that too. But, we're nearing the end. We finished changing all of the lines that we knew of. So we're just going around looking for lead service lines at this point. If we find them, we change them. And by the grace of God, if we don't, we probably have about 1,000 or so more lines to review.
Right.
And we should be done in a couple of weeks.
Right. That's awesome. That's amazing. I think the city is, we all know that the city definitely made history on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, with no cost to the residents, which is great. The State of the City address is coming up soon.
Part one, October 26th. Well, we're going to do part one and part two this year. We're going to
Okay.
do part one, October the 26th, and then we're going to do a part two in the spring.
Okay.
Really, really creative kind of way we're going to do it in the spring, 1 and 2, because there's so much to go over. And we just don't have enough time to lay it out in a way that people see all of the things, because we have to talk about COVID. We have to talk about the lead service line. We just have to talk about all of those things that have been impacting our community and let people know where we are with that financially, economically, the way it hit the budget, all of those things, so people can see, you know, what's going on in the city. And then we want to talk about some of the things that we've been working on for a long time that are bearing some fruit, and we're just not going to have the time to do it all in that. So we're going to have part one and part two of the State of the City.
That sounds good. Everyone should definitely tune in. You know, if you can make it to the State of the City in person, you have to be vaccinated, of course. Just, you know, if you can't make it, just make sure you watch it and tune in. It's going to be great, I think. A lot of information.
I think we're going to show it at the drive-in movie theater too.
Yep, for those who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
Yep, that's great. That's a great option. Alternative. So, and the city has a lot of development to talk about as well in your address, I'm sure, which will bring us into our next guest, right? Introducing the Deputy Director, Miss Allison Ladd. You want to go and introduce her?
Yeah, our Deputy Mayor, Allison Ladd, Director of Economic and Housing Development here. Most of her career was in D.C. You know, now we recruited her. She came to Newark. And now she is taking on the development in the largest city in the state. She came to Newark with about 20 years of experience in urban planning, economic development, and we're glad to have her on, you know, and be a part of helping us try to make Newark continue to move forward. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Welcome, Director Ladd, to Ras In 60. Glad to have you on. I already told people who you were, but if you want to tell us in your own words, you know, give us an introduction about who you are and what you're doing in Newark.
Thanks, Mayor. It's really great to be with you on your show. I get to listen to it sometimes at night when I'm not doing the day-to-day work. But, you know, I came here because I'm a city enthusiast. I've always loved working in cities. And coming to be a public servant in the city of Newark has been an incredible highlight of my career. I had the great pleasure of working in Maryland and D.C. Before joining your team, and it's been really fantastic. And also, I've been able to get closer to my family. As you know, they're in Connecticut, and as my family is getting older, my parents are almost 80, I've had the enjoyable time to go visit them, even during a pandemic. So grateful to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you. You know, it is National Economic Education and Financial Planning Month, so we try to put together a program that we can focus a lot on the economic development that's taking place in Newark and some of the financial crisis that we've been affected with as of late as well. Can you just like briefly talk about some of the things that and programs, and we just talked about a few as well, that were implemented to protect residents from the worst of the financial storm that hit them during COVID?
Sure. I'd definitely say we had 3 highlights, and perhaps you touched on them already, but one was something you created in 2019, the Office of Tenant Legal Services. The coordinator there, Kabira Myers, has been fierce and someone who's really helped protect our residents from unlawful evictions and also educate them about their rights as tenants. You know, since you created the office in 2019, we've helped over 3,000 tenants already during this time. You know, the second thing is the rental assistance. I think that was pretty profound that you got out of the gate right away when the pandemic hit back in March of 2019. In 2020. And you've already helped over 2,000 residents, and we're trying to help another 4,000 with the current round. And I'll just close with what's going on with Invest Newark, really focused on home ownership. And I know that one of the highlights that you've had in the last few months is welcoming families to their new home as they move from being a renter in the Section 8 voucher program to now owning their own home in the city. So wealth building is definitely a key part of the equity and things you've been doing in the last year or so.
Yeah, that's good stuff. And what about the, when this stuff is over, by the grace of God, I mean, I pray that it's over soon.
Me too.
When to help Newark recover from this economically, I mean, what do we have in plan to help that?
Here we're focused on using the American Rescue Plan dollars. I know we've already dedicated critical funding for small businesses. We know they were hit especially hard during the pandemic as our anchor institutions did telework, and they're still teleworking. We're real hopeful they come back in January, but that really hit our small businesses, the Black and brown businesses in our community, really hard. And so your willingness to dedicate American Rescue Funds and also pre-dollars before that has been impactful because we really want them to stay in our city and thrive. I think the second thing is around place-based strategies. I know we talk about neighborhoods and, the city is 5 wards. It doesn't matter what community you're in, but we should be able to have vibrant neighborhoods throughout the city. So really looking at using funds to have place-based strategies, look at our commercial corridors, and find ways to also look at homeownership because, again, about wealth building, we know that that's a key component. And I think I just end with the fact that we need to get back together again. You started this campaign this past summer. People have been out in our parks. They've been in the neighborhoods, talking to people, doing block parties. And it's just been really great for us to be back together again.
It has been. It was a great. Yeah, something we have to continue doing.
Yeah, we definitely do. Can you talk a little more about why home ownership is important for the community?
Sure. When we think about the wealth gap here in New Jersey, it's no different here in the city of Newark. New Jersey Institute for Social Justice had a recent report that talked about how the white families' incomes are about $309,000, where Latinx families are $7,200 and Black families are $5,900. And home ownership is really a key to help building wealth and legacy wealth for families because home ownership can also be passed down generation to generation, and we're able to help provide stable housing for our residents. And so love that the mayor has Live Newark. Live Newark has really created a way to give pathways to residents who want to go to homeownership, and now it's $10,000. So feel free to reach out to EHD and find a way to access $10,000 to buy your first house.
That's good stuff. Mm-hmm. Yep, and so along those lines in terms of housing, just some of the affordable housing goals and some of the a lot of people talk about affordable housing. They're not sure what the administration is doing. So we'd like to really let them know what some of our affordable housing, achievements were.
Affordable housing is definitely something that's been a priority for you, and I know that it was a great piece for me when I joined your team. I've been an affordable housing advocate my whole career, so being part of something as impactful as the affordable housing agenda that's inclusive and equitable has been great for me, I know. So some things that we touched on, most recently, you released $20 million for gap funding to build or renovate housing for families at 30% of AMI and below. And I know everyone's like, well, what's 30% of AMI and below? Well, it means families of 4 that are making $32,000. And our families here in the city of Newark, that's where we are. So we must build housing for them. It can't be housing at 80% of AMI because that's not who our families are. So your $20 million commitment is going to help us build housing for families that are here. And I just say the second thing that you've been doing is you set goals. In August, you set 5 goals for the city, and one of them is about production of housing throughout the city, and the number is 6,600 units. So we need to build 6,600 units over the next 5 years so we can benefit here in the city from our population growth while not displacing our families.
Yeah, and while you talk about the displacement, gentrification is on the minds and tongues of everybody. That's like the new word.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, no one would ever be talking about gentrification in Newark. Hell, 5 years ago, people wouldn't be talking about gentrification in Newark. Now that's the major discussion.
Right.
What is your thoughts on that, and in Newark, and how can we calm people a little bit?
This is a tough one, Mayor. We've been really blessed that we've had population growth over the last 10 years with our new census count. So we are now over 300,000 people. That's phenomenal, especially during a pandemic. I know Deputy Mayor Keeley's she worked day in, day out to make sure that our numbers got higher and higher. So, and I know you're proud that you're still the largest city in the state of New Jersey. But to get to your question, we really have to focus on the seniors, the residents, programs that help build wealth like Live Newark, because that's the piece that we want. We want our residents to stay. Even though our population is growing, that's okay. We can have new residents. We need them. We need to grow our tax base so our services can really reach the residents. But we also know that the residents that have lived here, it's our job to create ways for them to stay. So whether it's rental assistance, whether it's down payment assistance, whether it's just understanding what they're trying to do from a business point of view, and maybe they want to start a new development company, we've got to be available to help them every step of the way.
100%.
Yeah.
And, I mean, some of the stuff that's not talked about in that is just trying to make sure that people earn a better wage. So maybe we get to talk about that at another time as well. Like, just increasing people's wages
Yeah.
also helps them afford, things in the city as well. So
That's true. Yep.
So, like on that, I know you talked about home ownership and affordable housing and gentrification and all economic recovery. All of these things are incredibly important for the city. So, what do you think that would leave us in a couple of years from now?
We're going to stay vibrant, Mayor. You know that. We've been strong through this whole pandemic. From day one, you pulled the cabinet together and said, we've got to cross the aisles. We got to find solutions, and we have to think about residents first. So I just think that trajectory is continuing. I see us in the next 5 years that we will remain vibrant. We will have neighborhoods that will be active. We will have less vacant and blighted properties. We will have more minority developers in our city that are building their own wealth as they'd like to in their own career path. And I'm real confident that given your leadership that we'll be able to have all of our residents who wants to stay here be able to remain in the city just as much as welcome new residents to our city.
That's a good thing. You have something?
Well, I was gonna say the development is really exciting. I think for everyone to see just the housing going up, the apartments, and the fact that we have the affordable housing initiative with the Section 8 voucher. That's really, really cool. I think people really definitely responded well to that. So it's really good to see that even though we are developing, we're not forgetting about the people who are here for generations.
Absolutely.
That's good.
So what are some of the exciting things that's coming on the horizon?
I definitely think the pedestrian bridge, Mayor, it's going to be built. I know that we've got great plans for a pedestrian bridge that will connect our neighborhoods downtown. And this is critically important because, as we know, this pedestrian bridge, it's not only a connector for our neighborhoods, it's also an incentive to get our developers to build on those lots that are around Penn Station. And we need that development. We need to be able to ensure we have mixed income developments on each of those lots. And I know that's your vision. So the pedestrian bridge is a catalyst to get there. And then the second thing is the master plan. The master plan is our 10-year vision. So we're starting that now. And we need to decide how do the residents, how do we want our city to grow in the next 10 years? And this master plan, I encourage every resident to get involved in this process because we all need to decide what's best and what's equitable for the city of Newark.
Right.
Yeah,
And how do people get involved in the master plan?
For sure. Please email ehd@ci.newark nj.us. And for any of the things that you've heard about today, if you email us at that general box, we have somebody who is responding every day, all the time. So feel free, ask us a question, and we'll send you in the right direction.
Yeah, it's exciting, and I know Desiree wants to go hang out downtown somewhere, so we got to make sure we make it happen down there for her, you know?
You bet.
It'll happen.
Yeah, I want to ride the scooter down to the yard, you know.
For sure.
Have brunch down there, you know, in the park.
Yeah, all those things can happen, you
Yeah,
know?
let's do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, are glad you came on to the show with us. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about the development and things that have been happening in the city. Is there anything that you want to say before you depart?
No, thanks just for having me today. Really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to being part of the future as well. So thanks so much.
Very good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank
Good,
you. How are
good.
you?
I'm great. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Yeah. So we want to jump right in, right?
Yep.
So I just want to welcome to our show. Obviously, we are doing National Economic Education Month and financial planning as well. We had Deputy Mayor Allison Ladd on economic development here. And obviously, we're glad to have you here. Mr. Alfred Emmons Jr., Senior Vice President, Executive Editor-at-Large of Black Enterprise Magazine. Introduced you, but, before you got on the show, but I know you probably can do it better than I can. So want to tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, as you said, I'm Senior Vice President at Black Enterprise. I've been at Black Enterprise, starting to lose count, but more than 30 years. I think it'll be 34 years in March. I'm a former editor-in-chief of the magazine, former editor-in-chief of the website, done a little bit of everything. Currently host a show called Beyond the Hype and a show called Your Money, Your Life, which dovetails into what we'll be talking about today. I also host a financial and faith show called Be Lifted Up Radio with DC Marshall on the Mocha Podcast Network. And so what we're talking about today is basically how I've been pursuing my life and my career, my personal mission for most of my professional life.
Wow. That's great.
That
I
is
think
great.
that we can learn a lot today. And our
Yeah.
listeners can as well.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Black Enterprise has been around for like 50 years or so.
We celebrated our 50th anniversary in 2020. We're still celebrating.
That's amazing.
So,
Wow, that is amazing.
Yes, and of course, that was also the year that our beloved founder, Earl Graves Sr., passed away on
That's
April
right.
6th. So we're celebrating his legacy as well as the 50th anniversary of the magazine, even going into 2022.
Wow. He definitely brought something amazing to the Black communities of color.
Sure.
Just, financially educating people.
Well, I can say what I've said publicly many times. He is the most admirable, influential person I've ever personally gotten to know in my life. And I edited his column for 25 years, so I got to spend a lot of time with him. So he's the real deal in every way, and we honor his legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not a lot of magazines and periodicals and newspapers are gone. Black owned. We used to have almost one in every major city. Now they're gone. Now we just have to deal with NJ.com around here. But that's you know what I mean?
Well, I give credit to Earl Graves Jr., Butch Graves, who's the oldest son of the founder, who's been CEO of the company for now probably more than 15 years, for successfully navigating us to a digital-only environment, particularly as we got through the difficulties of 2020 during the pandemic. So we are now the #1 Black digital media brand in the country.
That's amazing.
With more than 8 million unique visitors a month and growing. So
Yeah.
that's all due to the forward-thinking leadership of Earl Graves Jr. building on that legacy that his father left behind.
Certainly forward thinking, because we lost a lot of folks, and I think if they would have done that, some of them may be still around.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, trying to make money as a print publication is like trying to sell music on vinyl records. It's not that the music is not good anymore.
Yeah.
It's the means of delivery has changed, and if you don't change with it, you're going to be out of it.
Wow.
True.
Wow.
That's definitely true. And I know at Black Enterprise, I definitely follow you guys, and and they have a lot of good forums to tune into digitally. I can go in there and virtually learn stuff from professionals and panels. So it's really definitely has pushed forward in the digital age and transferred everything from what I can see from print onto the digital platform.
Yeah,
which
we
is good.
don't want to turn this into a Black Enterprise
Right.
infomercial, but,
No.
but I'll just urge people, go to blackenterprise.com, go to the events section. You'll see we do monthly virtual events. We have an economic justice town hall series. We'll be going back to live events in 2022 with our Women of Power Summit in Las Vegas. But yeah, all things Black Enterprise, you can check it out and certainly follow us on social media also to stay on top of what we're doing.
Nice.
Definitely.
Well, back on the topic, that we were discussing today, in New Jersey, well, in the nation, there's a huge wealth gap. In New Jersey, it is particularly huge, and, it is very challenging for us to deal with a wealth gap that is so big. It would take generations to be able to even slightly recover. I mean, is there something that we need to be doing around credit, wealth, savings, other things? Just one thing that we should be doing as a community and how to help people with financial literacy overall.
Well, let me start off by making it very, very clear, and I do public speaking around the country and also do shows like yours. The first thing we need to understand is that the wealth gap was not created by our financial behaviors. So this idea that somehow we're going to fix it by doing quote unquote the right things financially, the wealth gap was created by systemic issues, going back hundreds of years. That we could do a whole nother show on if we want to take that time. But
Right.
I think it's misleading and disingenuous to lay the wealth gap at the feet of Black people in particular as if we created it by so-called poor financial habits. It's just not true.
Right.
So yes, there are things that we can do to better our individual financial situations to strengthen our communities, but the wealth gap is a 10-to-1 depending on what study you believe, 171,000 average net worth of a white household compared to 17,000 average net worth of a Black household. There's nothing you and I are going to do in our daily financial things that are going to close that gap. That said, we do need to focus on educating ourselves, educating our children about managing credit. We do need to be very, very serious about the first rule of wealth creation, which is to pay yourself first, which is to set aside at least 5%, 10% of your all income and just put it to the side for emergency savings, which we found out that could make or break you during the pandemic, whether you had some savings on the side to tide you over through all that disruption. But the three main things that we focus on at Black Enterprise in terms of really getting serious about multi-generational wealth creation, which is what we're talking about, is one, home ownership. We have to close the home ownership gap between Black families and white families. The home ownership rate in Black communities has gone backwards during the pandemic, and it's probably around 45% compared to 75% for white households. We have to be exposed to the stock market. And the first place to do that is through your 401k. If you have a 401k, you have any kind of retirement account that allows you to invest in the stock market, you should be in there maxed out, especially if your employer matches. Investing in the stock market is another form of investing in business, successful businesses. And of course, the third thing that we've always focused on at Black Enterprise is entrepreneurship. Whether you start a business, whether you invest in an existing business, you support that business. Those are kind of the three biggest ways to build wealth, not just to make money. It's not the same thing.
That's right.
We need to focus on asset acquisition, asset accumulation, and assets that you can pass on to future generations in one form or another. The difference between income and assets is that no matter how big your salary is, you can be making $20 million a year. When you die, you can't give that salary to your kids. That salary's gone. But if you invest some of that money, if you have stocks, if you have bonds, if you have real estate, if you have home ownership, if you have currencies, and even including Bitcoin, though, I'm telling you, don't put all your money in Bitcoin. That's another thing. But my point is, you want to accumulate a portfolio of assets during the course of your earning lifetime so that you have something to pass on for future generations to build on, whether you're passing it on to your children directly, whether you're leaving it to an institution like a HBCU or a church. That's what we're really talking about. But it starts with home ownership, stock market exposure. And I know we have to get past this idea that the stock market is risky. If it's a long-term investment, and that's the only reason to invest in the stock market is to let that work for you over the course of years, it always comes out with greater rates of return to almost anything else. And then we have to be very, very serious about entrepreneurship and business ownership as an asset, not just a way to create a job for ourselves.
It's true. All right. Some people might feel like investing in stocks is becoming easier, I feel like now. It's easier. You can download an app. You can kind of like just put money in there. But some folks can put a certain amount in there, but what would you, recommend from your standpoint? If someone is trying to build wealth, what would you recommend?
Well, again, before you start thinking about individual stocks, think about the ways that you can be invested in stocks that you're not taking as much risk. Again, that's why I emphasize things like 401ks, individual retirement accounts, mutual funds, where you're buying baskets of stocks. Because the whole key is diversification across of multiple investment and multiple asset classes. So people think of risk because they think of putting all their money into one thing, whether that's one stock or Bitcoin or one kind of company or one kind of, and the key to wealth building over time is to have a little bit of money in everything. So you want to think about stocks in the beginning, if you're new, in terms of just where are the places that I can have access to the stock market that is not about an individual stock, but again, 401k is the most obvious one, your retirement account, where you can have bonds and stocks mixed together that can spread the risk. Now, if you want to invest in individual stocks, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big fan of dollar cost averaging. And whether you use an app on your phone, like Acorns or Robinhood, say, okay, I'm going to take a certain amount of dollars a month, $20, $30, $50, and just automatically throw that into a portfolio of a basket of stocks and let that be automated, starting to think about doing it, and let it build over time. This is not about making money and getting rich overnight. It's really about learning how the stock market works, getting a feel, understanding the terminology, so that as time goes by, you get more and more comfortable and confident with being exposed to the stock market.
Okay.
Yeah. So are there some like beginning things that people can do around the stock market stuff? Like suppose you're talking to a young college student or a new father or somebody like that. What do you suggest that they do immediately to help them ingratiate themselves to the stock market?
I tell people what I wish I had done when I was in my 20s. First, concentrate on saving. The reason why we don't have money to invest is because we don't save. We don't have money sitting around saved. So one of the best pieces of advice that I wish someone had given me when I was young was, don't spend your raise for the first year. Whatever salary increase you get, don't spend it. Meaning if you were living on $45,000 a year and then you get a raise to 45, act like you're still living on 40 and let that 5,000, just go someplace. Because once that savings builds up, you'll start thinking of things to put that money to work. Yeah. Then, like I said, you set up an account on Robinhood or Acorns or one of the these kind of automated investing accounts, and just put some money in there, money that you're not going to pay any attention to. Just like when you pay the IRS, they just take it out. You're not thinking about it, but they're getting their money.
That's right.
You want to pay yourself with the same degree of diligence. So I always tell people, first of all, make savings automated. You should have 6 to 9 months of emergency savings that automatically sweeps into a separate account. For example, I have an online account. I don't have a checkbook attached to it. I don't have an ATM card attached to it. But every paycheck, X amount of money just goes there. And it builds up. And I'm not even really paying attention to it unless something happens. And then I'm like, okay, what's in there? Right. If you do that and then you don't think about it, that money will build up. Then I would set up a separate account that would be my quote unquote investment account. But again, I'm not investing right away. I'm just putting some money in there every pay period. Every time I get some money, put money in there. So that at some point, as my education about investing starts to grow, and I think, okay, I'm ready. You don't think I'm ready, but I don't have any money. You think, no, I'm ready, and I have this money on the side that I'm not living on. This is not my rent money. This is not, what I'm going to use to survive. This is the money I set aside specifically so that I can risk it through some kind of investment and learn how to manage money. So again, if you're a beginner, what you want to do is set aside. I tell people, learn to live on 80% of your income. If you learn to live on 80%, and then you have 10% that you put aside, 5 to 10% for emergencies only, not to invest, not to spend, just in case something goes wrong, because something will, or an opportunity may come up. Let me do the flip side. That emergency money could be the opportunity. You may have a chance to invest in a good business, but for the lack of capital. But you can say, no, I've been putting this money aside. Now I can be part of this because I have some money aside. So it's not just for emergencies, it's for opportunities. The second thing, you want to put money aside for investing, even if you don't know what you want to invest in yet. You just want to put that aside. Then learn to live on the other 80%. Have fun. Do what you want to do. But with one caveat, paying down debt is an investment. It's an immediate return on investment. If you're paying 25%, 12% on interest on a debt that you're carrying, paying that off is automatically 12%, 15 to 20% that you can invest or save or spend if you want to spend it. So you want to look at managing debt and limiting debt, not necessarily eliminating it because access to credit is important, but looking at how little interest can I pay out through the debt that I'm carrying, compared to how much interest and I can gain by where I put my money that's going to either appreciate in value or deliver some type of interest or dividend.
Right.
So that takes a lot of discipline, though. You know,
does.
how do you discipline something? Like, people make more money, they want to buy more stuff.
They make more bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Learning to control our standard of living.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm a big fan of automation.
Right.
If you have to think about doing it every pay period, you're probably not going to do it. Like, it's going to be, you'll say, oh, next time. Or I would do it this week, but I'm not going to do it this week because I'm going to do it. So the beauty that we have and the advantage that we have that our parents and our grandparents didn't have, which is why they were way more disciplined than I think we are, is that they literally had to say, no, this is what I have. This is what it's got to go to. And if there's something left over, I got a cookie jar. I'm gonna throw that in there.
Right,
you know, Big Mama always had something.
Yeah, under the mattress.
Yeah, under the mattress. But they had no choice. They had no access to credit, particularly black people and women.
Right.
You couldn't even know my mother's generation couldn't even know her credit score. I was the first generation. If you're 60 and under, you're the first generation to even have the right to know what your credit score was, to have access to credit. So they were more disciplined because they had to be. They literally could not spend anything they didn't have. We, of course, have access to credit. Like you said, we're not as disciplined. So the key is automation. I don't think about putting money into my emergency savings every pay period. I just set it up so it automatically happens. And after a while, you just forget that it's happening. You go based what's in your checking account. Automate your investments. That's why a lot of these apps, again, I have the Acorn app, and I just literally just let X amount of money go to that app. I check it maybe once every month just to see how the market is doing, especially if something's happening. But I don't touch it, and I don't realize it's going in it because it's automated. So to the degree that you can automate everything, bill paying. I write one check a month now. I consciously write one check in a month, and that's for my lawn care because my provider, that's the only way he'll take payments. So, okay, he has to send me a text every once in a while. You send me my check. Yeah. Everything else is automated. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, if you set up a budget and then you automate that budget as much as possible, it removes Amazon temptation. It removes, all those things that we could do automatically right from our phones. Yeah. And eventually what happens is, in the beginning, it's the automation that's making you do the right thing. But eventually, it becomes discipline. Because there's nothing like looking at your account and like, wait, I got $5,000 sitting there. Then you don't need discipline anymore. You're motivated. You're like, oh, I'm going to let this keep rolling. I'm going to keep putting that money down because there's a sense of security that comes with that. And like you've been living off of 80% of your income per se this long. You say, okay, I guess I can keep doing it. I'm fine.
Right.
All right.
That's good advice, brother.
Very good advice.
Yeah, well, it's
hopefully
all about,
people take it.
People think money and finance is about dollars and cents and budgeting, but it's really about your emotions, what you were cultivated to in your family, your thinking about money, your habits, and if you can manage that, I'm a big fan of people who are behavioral specialists in the financial. I'm a big fan of Jaquette Timmons, for example, who is a behavioral expert on finances. To talk about why do we react the way we do. We're emotional about our money. Why do we do what we do? A lot of times it's what we experienced in childhood, is what our mom or our dad told us, or what we saw them do that shapes the way we deal with money, even when we've reached higher levels of income, higher levels of education, but we still have the same habits because we have to address those emotional issues. So I'm big on that.
Yeah, that's why they all those ads pop up on your phone all the time. They know your habits.
Oh, they're pressing your emotional buttons. They are pressing your emotional buttons.
It's crazy. I feel like now, because everything is so digital, they track
bizarre.
Everything.
It's so crazy.
They track it and they know what you want.
It's so crazy.
But that's why if you learn to automate as much as you can, then there'll be some percentage of your money. I have like maybe 5% of my income. I'm like, okay, I know I'm gonna blow this. I just know it. But if you know it's 5%, and you're touching the other 95% because it's spoken for, then you can also spend that 5% and be guilt-free about it. There's certain things that you just like to do. It doesn't make sense financially. It seems like it would be a waste. But no, I got my other 90 to 95% spoken for. So if I want to throw 5%, on video games or whatever is my thing, I can do it without feeling guilty.
Right.
Yeah, I like the investment part. Some of that stuff you be talking about is so scary. You be talking about it, it pop up on your phone. Like, wait a minute, I didn't search for that. But I'm just glad that you came on the show. I think we need a whole show just dedicated to you, brother. I think you gave us a lot of information. You have something, Desiree?
I mean, if you can you just, well, you kind of already talked about it,
Yeah, he talked about everything.
everything.
Well, I'd like to share one tip that, again, this is one a piece of advice I did take. It's this concept called found money, right? We all remember when we have these unexpected expenses and we're like, oh man, I didn't budget for that. What we don't always pay attention to is when money comes in that we didn't expect.
That's right.
And so I always tell people, plan what I call a windfall budget. That whenever money comes in that you didn't expect, somebody paid you back that you never thought would pay you back. If you're somebody who goes to casinos and you come back with a big win, whatever it is that where money comes in all the time that we didn't expect. And if you didn't expect it, you can't say you budgeted for it.
Right.
So my thing is always like the rule for found money is 50% automatically to debt, to pay down debt if you still have it, 20% automatically to your emergency savings, and then spend the rest, have fun.
Right.
And what'll happen is your debt will start disappearing, your emergency savings will build, and you'll still enjoy the found money.
Right.
But if you don't pay attention to the found money, to your point earlier about Amazon, you'll spend it before you have it real good. You'll be like, oh.
100%.
So I always tell people, budget for your windfalls. Don't just budget for your unexpected expenses. Budget for your windfalls. When something comes in that you didn't expect. I do a lot of, in addition to my quote unquote main job where I get income that I know is coming. Like you, I do public speaking. I do other things where I don't know when that money's coming.
Yeah.
But when it comes, I already know what I'm going to do with it. This is not spent money. I didn't know that this was coming. Let me just apply that to those things that'll be to my long-term benefit. So I'm not always worried about, well, in this case, we just came through a global pandemic. Well, something's going to happen all the time. And there's a sense of security in knowing I wasn't prepared for this, but I did have this money set aside. I wasn't prepared for this, but my debt is paid down and I can ride this thing out for myself and my family.
Right.
Just on the lighter side, man, on your bio, it say you work out a little bit, man. I try to do that from time to time as well. What makes you do that, though?
Well, the easy thing is I loved weight training since I was 15. And then when I was 15, I weighed like 90-something pounds. So it wasn't like I was a big dude. I just liked it. Over time, though, and this dovetails actually to this conversation, especially when I became a father, I began to look at health as a form of wealth. Now, everybody says that, but I break it down into numbers, and I'll give you an example. If you're a black man with a life expectancy of 72 and you die at 45 with an average annual salary of $40,000 a year, which is not a lot of money, you've left $2 million in earning potential on the table. So for me, it began to be thinking about how much longer do I want to live, and what is my earning potential going to be if I die prematurely? How much money am I leaving on the table? And when we talk about closing the wealth gap, again, a lot of this is systemic. When you look at the life expectancy of black men, which is still lower than every other demographic group in the country, that's not just loss of life and, of course, the emotional part. It's earning power left on the table. When you talk about black women who live longer but don't always live as healthily, their capacity to generate wealth in the latter half of their life is compromised. So I tell people, I do it for the fun. I'm actually preparing for a bodybuilding competition in Baltimore.
Wow.
This week. I'm in peak week. So
that's a lot of discipline.
Yeah. But it's only discipline if you're not motivated. It was discipline at the beginning for me. But now I have a lot of motivation and I'm doing what I love. But also there's this thing about I'm 61 and I am just as robust and able to earn at the same level or more than I was when I was 31.
How about that?
And so I'm looking at how many earning years can I have to be able to provide for myself and my family and to do the things I want to do. And remember, look at wealth creation in America. There are some exceptions, but the big money is after you turn 50. That's when you've achieved mastery at whatever you're going to do, your reputation, you make a lot of your mistakes in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s. Then around 50, you start getting it right. People know you for you. So whatever you do for a living, look at most millionaires and billionaires. Mark Zuckerberg, and that is an exception to the rule. Most people don't get serious wealth creation to after age 50. So if you look at us as black people, if you're either sick or dying by the time you're in your early 50s, how much money are we leaving off the table that can help us close the racial wealth gap?
Wow.
So that's how I approach health, in addition to my own personal passion for it.
Right.
Wow.
That's an interesting perspective. That's a good one, too.
That's huge.
Yeah.
We got to live, man. We got to live to make money.
You got to live. That's simple, but it's true.
Yeah.
Tom, thank you, man, for coming on the show. I think you enlightened our guests. Appreciate it. We get to have you on again. That's for sure.
Well, listen, anytime. It was a great honor to be invited to talk with you guys today. Anytime you want me, I'm here. People can follow me on at Alfred Edmond Jr. everywhere on social media. I always answer, DM me. Just act right. I won't block you, but as long as you act right. But it's a great honor and pleasure to be on the show.
Yes,
Thank
sir,
you.
man. Thank you. We'll be in touch for sure, definitely. Thank you for coming, man.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mary, that was a great show.
Yeah, it was a great show, man. I'd like to thank everybody for listening and watching. And you can find out more information about Department of Economic Housing Development at newarknj.gov/department/economic housing. You can learn more about our guests here today, whether it's Deputy Mayor Allison Ladd or Alfred A. Edmond Jr. At blackenterprise.com, or you can follow him on Twitter at Alfred Edmond Jr. as well. And make sure you follow our pages. You know, our Facebook.com, City of Newark. Our Twitter handle is at City of Newark NJ, or you can follow our Instagram account, City of Newark NJ. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Ras J Baraka or on Instagram at Ras J Baraka. You can follow my Facebook at facebook.com/Ras J Baraka. I want to thank all of y'all for listening, and please share this link with your social circles. Remember to tune in the next episode of Ras In 60, premiering on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. We release new episodes each and every first Tuesday, and use the hashtag Ras In 60 if you'd like to ask me questions or make a comment about what you've heard on the show. Post your question to social media using hashtag Ras In 60. And remember, wherever American cities are going, Newark will get there first. Kenneth Allen Gibson. God bless you.